Hello, it is Saturday, August 27th at the time of this recording. For those of you who are live, great to have you here. We're all live if we're practicing, but if you are with me on this date at this time of 9:30 a.m. Eastern, my name is Karen, coming to you from Salt and Sand Studios. Today is dedicated to all of us who are triggered by or hooked by things that create negative emotions in us. And I know from a yogic perspective and the Buddhist teachings, Tibetan and otherwise, that the idea here is that it's not the thing that causes the emotion. It's our own response to that, and we can own it. But that doesn't make it any better necessarily as we're experiencing negative emotions like irritation and annoyance and anger and sadness and on and on and on. It's also part of the beauty of being human is that we have the ability, the possibility to experience emotions. So this is an opportunity for us to establish some practice that creates space. I've always wondered about what does it mean to create space? And you could do it physically, right? I don't want to be around people. You could do it even in a small physical space by creating a sense of space, sitting down and meditating or sitting down and contemplating. And the fact of the matter is, however you deal or don't deal with your negative emotions, they are impermanent. They might feel like they are not. You might be so attached to your sadness or your annoyance or your irritation or your anger that you hang on to it. But eventually it still will dissipate. So we're going to practice a little bit with guided meditation at the beginning and end of this session, and with some gentle body opening to give the body some space, because as we know, our emotions show up in our body. So let's take the time to show up for ourselves today, as you have, and find a comfortable seat. You can put your back against the wall if that feels better and allows a little less efforting for the long spine. Tailbone is slightly tilted forward, collarbones are open, shoulders drop away from the ears, almost as if you had this beautiful, gentle, warmish waterfall cascading down your body, which starts to wash away any of the physical tension. If you can, the palms are stacked in your lap and the thumb pads are touching. But if that's uncomfortable for you, don't worry about it. Eyes can be downcast a few feet in front of you, or you can close them. We're going to settle in, checking in with the breath. We notice what the jaw is doing, and maybe it's a little tight or we're clenching our teeth. So we breathe into the space right in front of the ears and soften the jaw, maybe by parting just the center of the lips, letting the tongue rest away from the roof of the mouth. And we check in with the thighs and the calves. For me, they often tense up in the meditative posture. The elbows extend a little bit outward if they can, making space. Take a big breath in through the nose. And a huge breath out the mouth. 2 more of those. And a natural breath. Consider something either in this moment or yesterday or today that was pleasant for you. Maybe it brought a smile to your face, maybe it didn't, but maybe it felt good. Maybe it was your first sip of coffee. Maybe it was lying languidly in bed for an extra 2 minutes. Maybe it was a kindness that you offered to someone or they offered to you during your day or your evening yesterday. And feel how that feels. See if that can hook you, if that can trigger a bit of calm, a bit of softness in the face and in the heart. Trigger doesn't have to mean bad. Now consider something that has irritated you. Maybe the fact that you got a mosquito bite, or maybe it was something someone said recently. And perhaps without getting hooked, without being triggered here, we just note, what did that irritation or annoyance feel like? We'll sit with it for a few breaths without meaning to stir things up, giving us ourselves an opportunity to note, I was irritated, and that is okay. And as you breathe, perhaps bring Ujjayi breath into play, that little constriction at the back of the throat that has the breath sounding like an ocean wave washing up on the beach. As you do that, note to self, that irritation didn't hang around very long, did it? That annoyance didn't hang around very long, did it? Emotions, like everything else in our lives, are impermanent. Might have lasted seconds or minutes or hours or a day or a weekend or a week or maybe even a month. But eventually it dissolved, it dissipated, just like every other emotion or feeling or experience that we have. They are all fleeting in the grand scheme of things. Sometimes we like to hang on to them. We like to hang on to our irritation or our annoyance or our joy. We try to extend it, elongate it. It always dissipates. And with that in mind, consider now something that actually brought you joy, and a joy that you felt in your entire body. And oftentimes that involves something like meeting a baby for the first time, or watching a couple kiss, or being at the top of a mountain, or gazing out at the sunset over a lake. So something that brought you joy. And allow that feeling of joy to enter the body, not just the heart, and maybe actually find a smile. Could be something as simple as the beauty of a flower. And now we'll move to a negative emotion. As noted in the description of the class today, negative space is often revered in graphics, in fine art. The idea of negative to us is negative, and therefore negative emotion is something we shouldn't have, when in fact it is the human existence. Positive emotion, negative emotion. I don't love to use those sort of polarizing descriptors, but that's the way we experience it. So let's come to a deeper negative emotion. Let's come to anger or sadness. And without getting hooked, if you can manage it, and without intending to make this experience difficult for you, take a moment to consider something that recently made you angry or sad. It could be the state of the world. It could be something someone said to you. It could be something you don't understand and you just have that feeling, and that is okay. And consider that this feeling is impermanent. Sit with it for a moment, acknowledge it, shake hands with it. Say to yourself, it is okay to be angry. And then you can choose to walk away from it if it's too much for you, or maybe you choose to allow it to walk away from you, if that's possible right now. breathing, acknowledging. Now, the final part of guided meditation, this practice, before we move into the physical aspect, is to consider the emotion or the state of being that everyone desires, which is love. Some people might call it happiness. Some people might call it compassion. Those moments when you truly feel that you want some other being to experience the best they can possibly experience, to win the trophy, to get a promotion, to fall in love, to have enough money to do their travel. Just that sense for, I wish the best for this other person, even if it means I don't win the fishing trophy. And maybe the easiest route to that is by considering a pet or a person you love unconditionally and who perhaps loves you unconditionally. And this time we'll breathe for 12 breaths, experiencing, feeling this sensation of love, happiness, compassion, not just in the smile or in the heart, but throughout the body. One last round of breath, big, huge breath in through the nose. Release it all out the mouth, sending everything away from us. The eyes might blink open, hands drop by the sides. Nothing is permanent. Inhale, lift your arms high, palms face behind you. Exhale, palms forward, lower the arms. This time we'll go outward. Inhale, palms up, lift out and up. Exhale, palms out and arms down. Another round, palms face forward. Inhale, lift them in front and up. Exhale, palms forward, arms lower. To the side, palms out. Inhale, arms up to the sides. Sweeping up, you are like the sun, getting larger, rising. Palms out, hands come down with the arms. One last time, palms outward, upward, arms out and up overhead. Press the palms together, hook your thumbs. Lift, lift, lift from the pelvis all the way to the sternum. Maybe gaze up at your thumbs. Arms as straight as possible. Exhale, palms together at your heart. Consider now an intention or maybe just a little word or mantra or image for the rest of your practice. An intention. Maybe it's a dedication. And we'll celebrate that. We'll surround ourselves with that as if we're creating a foundation from which the practice builds, grows, roots to rise. We'll use the chant of Om to do that. We breathe in deeply. Om. find a child's pose. I love starting in child's pose. It feels really delicious. We are face down, big toes touch. In this instance, if it feels good to the back, if it feels best for the back, you can have wide knees. If you're having any particular difficulty in your low back today, you might draw the knees more together. It allows the spine to round just that much more. And here you can imagine the goodness of your breath, like that waterfall again, really gentle and very refreshing and calming, moving up and down the spine and across left to right, across the hips. EFI joints, sacroiliac, breathing and breathing. Draw up to your fingertips so the elbows are off the mat. Walk your hands forward a little bit more, opening up in the shoulders. Breathe in. As you exhale, the hands crawl all the way to the left, maybe off the mat. You might place the palm of the left hand down and the palm of the right hand on the back of the left. Drop your head. If you're not feeling a stretch in the outer part of the right side of your body, you might crawl the hands a little bit farther away from you and draw your sitting bone, the right sitting bone, toward your heels. Breathe in. And out. Inhale, crawl through to center. As you breathe out, crawl all the way to the right. Just the hands, not the legs. And find your stretch on the left side body. Coming forward, we draw into a tabletop. Taking a moment to engage in any movement that the body calls for. One of the best things you can do first is warm up the spine, and you can do that with left to right movements. Hips and shoulders engage in the same direction, or cats and cows, or rolling cats and cows. Or a hula hoop motion with the hips. Maybe you try all of those. Maybe you try two. Maybe you've got some other magic that works for you. Starting to feel the movement of the spine, lubricating the spine, drawing the hips into play, opening up the heart a little bit. We meet in a neutral spine. We start to build some heat by reaching the right leg behind us and the left arm in front. You might just stay here working your balance, finding the hips squaring up, activating the right glutes and hamstrings, reaching away from you with the right heel and the left fingertips. If you decide not to stay here, you can slowly draw your elbow to your knee 3 times with breath. Breath out, need elbow. Breath in, we extend. Take your time, find your cadence. Keeping the leg lifted, we plant the left hand. Fingers are wide. The right leg sweeps above the left calf, and we take a peek over the left shoulder. Keep the leg off the mat to start. Once you've found your little curve here, you're going to plop the top of the right foot onto the ground outside your mat, and then glide that leg backward so that the front of the right hip, the psoas, the hip flexor, is coming toward your left heel. It might not make it there. You can draw onto your forearms. We're opening up the left side glutes at a place where the IT band comes into play. If you like a bigger challenge, you can tuck your right toes under, float the right knee off the ground, and then rock forward and backward. Oh boy, yeah. Ah! There goes my glutes. I can also feel my quads. It's a beautiful day. Apparently, it's a tight body day for Karen. Draw back to your 3-legged tabletop and draw your right knee as close to your right elbow as you can. Inhale, extend. Exhale, the knee draws to the mat. Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa pop, or cat-cow, or any motion that works for you here. We're working it out. We're driving toward the same things on each side. So we find a neutral spine again. Left leg long. Off the mat, squaring the hips up. Have to use the belly and the glutes for that. Right arm floats. You could stay here. This is powering up. It's heating up. It's creating strength. It's establishing balance and muscle memory. And or knee to elbow 3 times, taking your time. They might not touch. That's totally cool. We're working all of these beautiful big muscles of the body, including the muscles of the belly, the glutes, the left tricep, the hamstrings. 3-legged, hand comes down, left leg sweeps above the right. Take a peek over your shoulder, the right shoulder. Pause for a moment. Get as much of a curve as you can there on the left side body. Top of the left foot onto the earth outside the mat. Slide that leg away from you. Back into the right until you're as close as you can to having the front of your left hip touching your right heel. Float the left knee away if you desire, and rock. Return to a 3-legged table, knee above the elbow. You're rounding the spine for that. Inhale, extend the leg once again. And for our final time, knee down, a little waggle, a little wiggle, maybe your hula hoop shapes again. We're going to take a really, really slow-mo movement to down dog. So walk the hands forward just a couple of inches. Get that real estate with the fingers nice and wide, thumbs not too wide. Tuck the toes under. What we're going to do is just lift the knees off the mat a couple of inches. Gather in the belly. Stay low. Send the sitting bones toward the heels. We're going to super slowly power up. Lower the heels, which lifts the hips and lengthens the legs. Take your time. Down dog. My feet are a little close together, so you might check. Feet should be about 2 fists distance apart, or they are aligned with the bony hips on the front of your body. Heels might not come to the ground. Totally cool. It's a direction, not a destination. You might even bend your knees and then extend them again. You might pedal into your feet. Feeling your triceps, drawing the belly in and up. A little power in your downward dog. Walk the hands back to the feet for a forward fold at the back of your mat. Eventually, your heels will draw to the mat. And this methodology sometimes allows us to understand a bend in the knees is the best thing for us. A ragdoll if you like it. Maybe another bind, maybe a sway. Your noggin is like a block of cement, so just let it hang there. Hands release. Draw your hands to your shins. Halfway lift a long spine. Forward fold. Rise to standing, rooting into the ground with the feet, taking your time. Arms and head are like moss hanging off a willow tree until the shoulders stack over the hips. Hands will draw by the sides. We lift them out and up overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart, Samasthihi. Again, hands drop. Inhale, float the arms high. We fold over the legs, Uttanasana. Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Keep those feet firm to rise to standing. Take your time. One more time. Exhale, hands to your heart. Hands drop by your sides. Arms lift like you're flying. Lengthening the body. Exhale, forward. Uttanasana. We find our Ardha Uttanasana, half lift, which is a half fold. Forward fold. Rise to standing. Press the palms together overhead. Bend the elbows. Fingers come to the nape of the neck or between the shoulder blades. Press your head back into the forearms. And then interlace your fingers, maybe the awkward way. Press the palms to the back of the head. Open up the elbows. If your booty is sticking out the back or you're really crunched with the hips forward, slouchy, you're going to stand up, not lock the knees. Gather the thighs, the kneecaps toward the thighs, and strengthen the belly. Open up those elbows, take a tilt over to the right. If you like, you might drop your right hand to the ground, toward the ground, and lift the left arm toward the sky. You might gaze upward. We're lifting the heart toward the sky. Opening up the left side body. You rise back up. Take the clasp behind the head once again. Tilt over to the left. Open up if you like. Take your time. Rise back up. Press the palms together again. Elbows bend, fingers to the nape of the neck. Opening up the heart and shoulders. This time, press the palms against the back of the head and then widen the hands so they're spreading away from each other until the fingertips are behind your ears. Lift those elbows, see if you can get the triceps parallel to the floor. We're going to take a little twist over to the right so you can keep your hips square to the front of the mat. Come to center, twist toward the left. A little smile to the face because this feels goofy, like Dumbo and widening my ears. Twist again to the right. Lifting those elbows, center and left. Center, mountain pose. We're going to take a little walk to the front of the mat, but we're going to work a hip opener into that, which is also a balance. So if you're feeling imbalanced and you prefer to do this with one arm out and fingers lightly touching a wall, feel free to do that. And if you fall out of it, guess what? It's just yoga. That's just yoga. So I'm going to bring my hands to my hips. You might bring them to your heart. Shifting into the right foot, we're going to lift the left knee off, away, toward the belly and activate the left foot. Lower the shoulders. We're going to take a little kick forward. See if we can lift that leg a little bit more. We're going to step that foot forward, float into a bird or airplane. Take your time. You might just keep your toes on the mat. Right heel lifting, solid in your hips. Rise up with the knee toward your heart. Some of you might be saying, isn't this a peak pose? Ankle over the left knee. And either just standing with the left leg extended, you drop the right knee away from you, or maybe you sit into the posture, activating your right foot. We rise back up, knee lifts. And as you can see, I'm falling out of it. My balance is not great today, but guess what? That's okay. Right leg extends, leg lifts, right foot steps forward, we float. Taking our time, going only as far as it works for us. Left knee to the chest. Ankle crosses right knee. Open up your hip. Beautiful. And the foot returns to the mat. As you can see, my poses, if you were watching, you don't have to watch, but if you were, my poses are far from what some other people can do with their bodies. This is a place where I could get hooked by a negative emotion. Instead, I'm actually going to respond by focusing on the things that are starting to feel like they're opening up, like my hips. Inhale, arms higher. Exhale, chair pose. Your hands can come to your heart. Utkatasana, a beautiful space to work so many muscles of the body, the calves, the thighs, the belly. Tilt the pelvis a little forward, lift the heart, open up the collarbones. Interlace your hands behind you this time, or you could just hook your fingers. Shoulder blades draw toward each other. Collarbones start to make a smiley emoji. Thighs as if they're spinning toward each other. We're going to lift to the balls of the feet. Maintain the heels in the lift. Draw the sitting bones down. See if you can stay that low. Draw the belly in, tuck the tail, bring the heels back to the mat. Find your breath. Take a fold over your legs. Knees might stay soft. Hands might float from the spine, but they might not, and that's totally okay. Drop your head. So we've worked on making space in the mind and the heart. We've done a little bit of heart and shoulder opening. We've done a little bit of hip opening. We've done all of the movements of the spine. We're making our way toward a practice that we can employ regardless of the emotions that are hooking us. Hands drop to the ground. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Step your feet a little wider. Maybe as wide as your wide hips, but not as wide as your mat. We're going to work on the IT bands. Left fingertips come down to the mat right under your nose. Left knee bends. Right leg stays as straight as you can keep it without locking your knee. And the right arm can float high, or if your shoulders are like mine, you might tuck the right arm behind you. We're lifting into a halfway lift on the breath in to extend the spine. And on the exhale, we're twisting. There should be a sensation along the outside of the right leg. So if you're not feeling that, you might bring your feet closer together. You might twist more from the belly, or you might straighten your left knee. Doesn't have to be a hurting sensation, and by all means, it should not hurt. So if it does hurt, you can soften. Both hands to the earth. Drop your head, nod your head, shake your head. Bring your right fingertips to the mat under your nose, bend your right knee. Extend your left leg as much as possible. Inhale, lift halfway up and float the left arm high, or tuck it around on a half bind behind your low back. Fold away. Spread your feet a little bit wider. Maybe as wide as your mat. Toes point outward. Bend your knees. Drop your bottom. Bring your forearms to your thighs. You can interlace your fingers or find a little prayer shape. We're finding a little squat movement in a cat and cow. So we're going to press the forearms into the thighs, drop the head around the spine, scoop the chin in toward the chest. Inhale for a cow shape. So the tailbone will come out, the shoulders will lift, the gaze will lift, belly forward. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. And one more time, cat. and cow. We're going to drop the hands to the earth, lift the hips, bring the feet in closer, maybe about hips width distance. Come into our halfway lift again. And a forward fold. We're going to scoot the left foot way to the back of the mat. Runner's lunge. Take your time. Nice and long. Lots of energy into the big toe mound of the left foot. And we're not dropping that back knee. We're gathering the kneecap toward the left quad. Left hand down. Deepening our twist, the right arm high. Or again, you could take that half bind if it feels better. Watch that front knee. It loves to peel out to the right, but this is not a lizard pose. This is a lunge twist or a twist lunge. Not a lozenge, a lunge. And now we move into lizard. Back knee can drop down. Right hand inside your right foot. Untuck your back toes. Heel toe the right foot out to the right. This might be plenty for you. You might find you need to scoot that left knee back farther away from you. If you can, maybe you peel open the right foot like a boxer on the outer edge, and maybe that's enough for you. Maybe you like a twist here, pressing the palm of the right hand into the inside of your leg and twisting around. Or maybe you have enough working for you that you can slowly, with your breath, bring your forearms to the mat. Pelvis shifts forward rather than down, and we find our breath. Take 6 breaths here, if possible. Soften into it. No hooking of negative emotions of why won't my body do what I want it to do? But if you experience that, give it a second. Acknowledge it. It's okay to feel that. And then see if it can be blown out into the wind. Palms of the hands will plant if they are not on the ground. Sole of the right foot comes to the mat. Left toes tuck under. We shift the hips high and walk to the long edge of the mat for a wide-legged forward fold. Halfway lift. And we fold. Maybe the hands spin to the opposite edge of the mat and walk between your feet. Imagine you're sort of simultaneously sending your thighs toward each other and your feet away from each other. Hands come under your shoulders. Take the right heel inward so that you're finding your way to a warrior 2 stance. Maybe you need to shorten your stance a tiny bit. Rise up, right toes point forward. Juicy bend into your front knee. Arms out nice and wide, back leg really firm. Press and extend into your right leg for a reverse triangle. It's not actually a reverse triangle, but it's a reverse something or other. Come back to your warrior 2. Extend your front leg again, reverse. Return to your warrior 2. One more time, extend your front leg, reverse. This time stay in your reverse, bend your front knee. Breathe here, 3, 2, side angle. Glutes are active, back leg is powered up, belly working. Maybe you create the beach ball holding scenario. Rise back up, warrior 2 for a reverse. And your hands will windmill down to the mat. High plank. Low plank, halfway down, knees could draw down. Find your back bend, cobra or up dog or something else, into your downward dog. 3 breaths. Rise to the tiptoes, bend your knees, look past your hands, walk to them. All those shenanigans to the other side. First, we're going to rise to standing. Taking our time just to sunset forward, fold, half lift, a fold over the legs, right foot to the back of the mat, runner's lunge. Situate yourself here, nice long stance. Belly energy away from your thighs, shoulders backward, right hand down, twist, left arm high. Hand down inside the foot, back knee drops. Untuck your toes. Left foot to the outside of the mat. Finding our way into a lizard, a twist, or a partial lizard. Or all of those things. Remembering that in our lizard, we're going to take 6 breaths. Pelvis forward rather than down. A little real estate between the shoulders. Experience maybe some tightness in that left hip. Perhaps the response is kindness, or maybe the response is, darn it. Either way, acknowledge your response. Let it be okay. And maybe there's enough space to let it dissipate. Maybe there's not, and maybe that's next time. You are human. Hands to the mat. Tabletop. Take 1 deeper back bend, knees right under the hips. As you know, if you practice with me regularly, Anahatasana is my favorite back bend posture. It works for my low back. So puppy dog your way into your open heart. Hips stay right above the knees. Hands walk forward until the forehead, chin, or chest meets the mat. Shoulder issues can be alleviated significantly with the elbows bending out to either side of the mat and the fingers or the thumbs touching. We let the space behind the heart soften, almost as if the stars' light can descend, create a little magic from the back into the back of the heart and then around the heart. Creating this little starlight hug around your heart, allowing it fully to soften downward. Gently retuck the tailbone. Draw the hips back toward the heels, finding a narrow kneed balasana just for a couple of breaths. Walk the hands back toward the hips. Scoot your knees forward. Come on to one side, one hip. Make your way all the way down to the mat. In our final 5 minutes, we're going to take 2 twists, 1 to each side, and our Shavasana. So you might find a quick way or a slow way a gentle way or a core strengthening way onto the mat. Feet planted. We bring them as wide or wider than the mat and drop the knees together. Imagine the knees kind of like each other, the bee's knees. And then scoot the shoulder blade on each side closer to the hip on that side. Tilt your pelvis toward the sky. Just a little bit. It's not lifting off the mat, but rather you're pressing the low back into the earth. A windshield wiper effect with the knees. You can come on to the outsides and insides of the feet as appropriate. And then after your third round or your second round or even your first round, the knees will drop to one side. If you like a little extra juju, you can take the ankle of the front foot or leg and place it above the back leg, the knee of the back leg. That's hard to describe. The gaze is opposite your knees, and we start to feel the top hip moving forward toward the front of your mat. I guess if it's moving forward, it would be the front of your mat. Big breath in. And a full breath out. Oh yeah, the collarbones and shoulders are softening. The back is feeling more supple, the hips feeling more open. And then we're slowly going to return, the knees pointing toward the sky. Unhook if you're hooked, and drop the knees in the opposite direction, bringing your gaze over the shoulder that the knees are not pointing toward. And taking your extra juju with your front leg, drawing the ankle above and outside the right knee. The knee of the back leg. We might not all be in the same. Right and left. Point the knees toward the sky, plant your feet on the ground, a drawing in of the knees toward the chest. Give them a little squeeze, maybe a little knee circle, maybe a little rocking left and right. And find your way into your final resting posture for Shavasana. Shavasana is a preparedness pose for our future, but it's also a way for us to integrate our whole practice. And perhaps today, rather than focusing on the breath necessarily, maybe we come back to that thing, that moment, that being, whatever it was that brought us joy, that made us feel compassion, that made us happy. Pick one, loved. All of those words sort of meld together in this wonderful stew of wishing happiness truly and honestly for another being or beings. So find that moment you consider at the beginning of practice and let it fill your body. Let it reflect in the breath, in the hips, the belly, the heart, the throat, the smile, the forehead, and the crown of your head. Compassionate Shavasana. Start to deepen the breath, and on a really big breath, you're going to sweep the arms over the head, draw the legs together, hook your thumbs, and then inhale again if you exhale, reaching toes forward and fingers back, or we're taking a full body pencil stretch. Release all tension on the breath out. Find your way onto one side. Thank yourself for showing up for yourself, for taking the time to develop your practice and to bring it off the mat with you. Press yourself to a comfortable seat with your hands finding their home together at your heart. And here we'll return to our intention, consider the merit of this practice, wrap them up in a beautiful package, and send them out to all those in need. We'll use a sound of Om or a silent Om to do so. Big breath in. Thumb knuckles meet your center forehead so we can honor one another in the practice that brings us together. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your practice and your energy and your ideas and your experiences. For what I learned from you, I'm able to bring back to the group. I hope you have a remainder of the day or evening that is fantastic, and that you have an opportunity to bring your practice into play. I will see you soon. Remembering that there is a full schedule, outdoor schedule. You can check the website if you're in Vermont. And otherwise, next week at 9:30 Eastern on YouTube again. You see me, I don't see you. But of course, you're welcome to be in studio for that too. Tons of recordings. Take advantage there. And if you have the funding, please donate at saltandsandstudios.com. Have a great one. Bye.